Murder in uniform, Britain's special forces and their killings in Afghanistan. I'm going to read into this more from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline, Murder in Uniform, Britain's Special Forces and their Killings in Afghanistan. A groundbreaking new investigation has unveiled the horrific scale of unlawful killing done in our name, reports Iain Overton. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button, shares across social media so others are notified of this video. In a way, this is something that doesn't surprise me, I'm sad to say, because we always hear stories about some British Armed Forces or British Special Forces not always following things down the law, right down the middle. Now, I want to make something absolutely clear. I do not believe that every single deployment, every single troops, every single generals, everybody in the British Special Forces, everyone's in the army is in on this kind of thing. I don't buy that everyone is in on this. I don't buy that. Some people can come out and claim it, and the argument piece they can make here, and some people in the comments are more than rightly want to say no, it's happening it happens in every single one. I generally believe that there are many people who are perfectly honourable soldiers, who are many who are perfectly honourable soldiers who are simply doing their duty. Whether they agree or disagree with whatever orders they are given, they are doing their duty. Whether the order is right or wrong, but we're talking about specifically here potential absolute horrific murders in being taken place in Afghanistan, and we're not just talking adults here. Is what this is being stated. So there's a very good chance I won't have monetization for this video. So, but the reason I'm sharing this with you is because it's important for us to know about these stories, and I can assure you that Byline Times and Panorama, who did an investigation on this, would not be doing this if there wasn't something to this. So, there is a rot at the heart of Britain's military mythology, and for years politicians and generals have draped the Special Air Service, that's SAS, and its kindred regiments in the teflon cloaks of honour, sacrifice and secrecy. But myths have a habit of unveiling, and this one is fast doing. And what has emerged has revealed by year-long BBC Panorama investigation and parallel work by my charity, this is Ian's charity, Action on Armed Violence, AOVA. It's not the heroic professionalism of elite warriors, it is something far darker. It is the body of a child handcuffed and shot in the head. It is the tally kept of kills by men who seem to have relished bloodshed. It's the planted weapons, the falsified reports, the footage never watched, the servers wiped clean. It is bluntly murder and done in our name. For those who have spent years documenting the civilian costs of the war on terror, the most recent allegations in Panorama's exceptional film Special Forces, I saw war crimes, confirmed what many have long suspected, that British Special Forces almost certainly conducted a campaign of extrajudicial killing in Afghanistan with impunity, and that our military traditional system built to restrain them catastrophically failed. Worse, it may have even helped cover their tracks. This is not the misconduct of a few bad apples. This is not battlefield confusion. The testimonies aired by Panorama, drawn from interviews with more than 30 former soldiers, intelligence officers and insiders, reveal systematic wrongdoing, operations where everyone knew what was going on, attacks where detainees were executed, raids where children were murdered, and missions whose acts were recorded not accountable but seemingly as trophies. So the story goes is that this is this is normal. The most shocking revelation may not be the killings themselves, but just how many people knew and stay silent, or worse, knew and enabled. Commanding officers, legal advisors, ministers, even allegedly a former prime minister. They were warned, and yet they did nothing. Instead, what emerges is a choreographically of concealment. Legal manoeuvres to block inquiries, manipulation to official language to stay within the rules of engagement, refusal to hand over evidence, and deeply troubling revelation that special forces were granted a secret veto over the UK asylum claims of Afghan soldiers, men who had witnessed these killings firsthand. This veto in particular reveals a moral deprivation at odds with Britain's self-image as a nation of law and order, as a nation that has exported a democracy to Afghanistan. The suggestion that some of the Triples Afghan special forces who fought and bled alongside British troops were left behind to be tortured or killed by the Taliban, not because they were a security risk, but because they were witnesses, should be a wound in the natural psyche. It should haunt every official who signs those rejections. It should haunt the Ministry of Defence. These are not mere allegations of misconduct. These are detailed allegations of war crimes. That phrase has weight with it and carries a lethal threshold. The killing of wounded detainees, the execution of unarmed men, the murder of children, these acts are not combat, they are crimes. Are there photos and evidence, photos and videos to verify this as well? And yet, the British state response has been to close ranks. Operation Northmoor, the Royal Military Police investigation into 52 suspected killings, was shuttered without key film evidence reviewed. Eyewitnesses were intimidated or ignored. The MOD's own lawyers misled the courts. Senior figures, including former heads of the Army and UK Special Forces, refused to comment. Instead, the ministry insisted that it was fully cooperating fully with independent Afghanistan inquiries. That may be true in the letter, but in spirit, question mark. The spirit of that cooperation looks like obstruction, and still the killing went on. So from 2006 to beyond 2013, Special Forces reportedly turned war into a numbers game where human lives were reduced to metrics and the success of the mission was measured in bodies. In 2010 alone, one SAS squadron averaged 2.7 kills per raid. There is a quiet violence too, in the way the MOD dismisses Afghans' testimonies as if Afghans' lives are lesser lives. Afghan grief is lesser grief too. It's part of the problem. For war crimes do not exist in a vacuum, they thrive in cultures of impunity, racism and disdain for the rules that supposedly bind us. And so we should add our voices to the calls for justice, not for the dead, but not just for the dead, but for the living who remember them, for the families who still wait for the truth, for the Afghans denied safe haven, for the British soldiers who stay silent for too long and who now seek to atone. Let there be no illusions. What Panama and AOVA have over the years have helped uncover it's not just a scandal, it's a reckoning, and if the British state fails to confront it, it will not only dishonour the dead, it will dishonour itself. And Iain Overton is the executive director of the Action on Armed Violence charity there. It is quite frightening, this story, but what I will say is, if there is evidence, if there is clear, if enough people have said, as they said in this argument piece, that people have come forward with this. My question is, why is this only coming from Barlow Times? Why is this story not being shouted about by the mainstream media? Why are we not looking at this? And I'll tell you why. It's because the media are in on it too. The media don't want to see our British forces disdained, humiliated like that, do they? Do they want to? I don't think they do. But perhaps they may have a change of tune if it becomes bigger news, if more people start talking about it. I think that's an interesting thing. But I honestly have not seen the Panorama report of Panorama program on it. I will stress that because that context matters. But like I said at the start, I don't believe that every single British armed forces are all like this. I don't accept that. I know some people will argue that, and I know they're saying in British Special Forces this is the norm. Do I really, hand on heart, believe that every single soldier, every single person who works, man or woman, who works in the British Special Forces are like this? I still have a very hard time believing it. But this is where people will say, rightfully so, well, you need to watch the Panorama to see it differently. But honestly, what do you guys honestly think about this? And what do you make of this story? I do believe that there have been innocent killings in Afghanistan when our time out there. I do believe that. I do think there is a case for that. But is it really this bad? Let me know your honest thoughts about this story down in the comment section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit that like button, share it across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out additional content on my other platforms as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.